right, here we go again, another episode of P3 and Me. And before we get started, just want to share something with my students out there. Special mug today. Coffee is coming to me in the Student Tears mug. That's right, Student Tears, and you know why. A Man Called Otto broke you people, crying and weeping in the aisles. I love it. And you wait. There's better, more heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching, soul-shattering movies to come. You thought that was rough. Got something for you. I'll be using the Student Tears mug quite a bit. All right. Anyway, so A Man Called Otto was our anchor movie for our kind of our unit, if you will, on archetypal psychology. So we have the archetypes. And just to remind you as you watch the video, that the archetypes are psychological constructs, energies and desires and drives deep inside of us that we can label as driving us in certain directions using archetypal imagery, kings, rulers, magicians. And that the better our relationship with those energies and drives, the more mature decisions we can make, the better decisions we can make, as opposed to being a little bit out of control because the energy is that strong and our drives are that powerful. So archetypes are psychological constructs. You'll never see one, just like you can never see courage, but we can argue about the existence thereof. All right, so we have the archetypes. Now, I know your project was already due and you submitted it, and that's great. But just a reminder, we do have a midterm exam in this class. So therefore, this information could be helpful for people to try to understand different aspects of the archetypes that maybe are still lingering, causing a little bit of a problem. One example of, I think, a challenge for some of you was the idea, and this idea, all archetypal psychologists and analysts think this, that you have multiple archetypes within you. And sometimes if you're more of a linear thinker, you end up thinking, all right, we're talking about the warrior archetype, so that's the only one I have. And that's never the case. You have, for example, with Carol Pearson and her book, The Hero Within, and the pamphlet of hers, the PMAI pamphlet, 12 archetypes. You'll have a stronger relationship with some of them, but to have a strong relationship with all of them, to have them all integrated, that's part of that individuation process. Also, we have another anchor book that we used, which was Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette's King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. And this one talks about 4 archetypes in particular, but once again, you want all 4 of those working together in order to operate at your highest level. So that would all be part of that individuation process, and we have multiple archetypes in us. To that end, while looking at the film A Man Called Otto, we can easily pick out multiple archetypes that come at us through the film. I'm going to focus to start with the warrior archetype. Otto has clear warrior archetype energies. Those energies are within him. 3 scenes in particular, I'll try to go through them quickly for you, but 3 scenes in particular where we can see that warrior energy coming through Otto would be one, the flashback scene where he defends his wife at the meeting, the meeting of the board. Remember, he lives in like a kind of a community, and there's the community rules around in there. So his wife was paralyzed in that bus accident. Because of the time when they were living there were no rules about handicap accessible ramps and things like that. So they went to a board meeting with the developers to discuss that. And Otto got very insulted on behalf of his wife and something that was said. And he stood up and defended his wife, which, of course, we can go, good job, Otto, defend your wife. Later in the movie, when we have 63-year-old Otto, who's now obviously he's depressed, he's sad, he's living in an isolated state of mind because his beloved wife died of cancer, and he's not exactly sure why he's going on with his own life. However, he does meet, and I guess we'll call it befriend, he does befriend Marisol, and he's teaching her to drive. And while teaching her to drive, get that impatient driver behind them, beeping his horn. She's getting kind of frantic and just a little anxious because he's trying to learn to drive. The guy's beeping his horn. What's going on? And Otto steps out of the car and confronts the man. Hey, I got someone learning to drive here. Lighten up. And once again, hey, stand up for your friend. Good for you. Another example of that warrior energy coming out is with, and I can never remember his name, gotta look down, gotta find it, Beepo the clown. Yeah, Beepo the clown, doing the magic tricks in the hospital to entertain the children, and Otto gets upset because Beepo didn't give him back his quarter. And long story short, he basically assaults the clown in the hospital. Yeah, he assaults the clown in the hospital. Now, warrior energy, sure. Great decision, not so much. Let's face it. You're 63 years old and you're almost arrested for assaulting a clown. Something got out of hand there. Something got out of control right there. And that's part of the warrior energy too. If you don't have a great relationship, either A, with it, or B, with other archetypes that help rein it in, you can get what, once again, Carol Pearson called kind of an out of control type of moments with the warrior archetype. Now, that holds true too, by the way, in those other two scenes as well. Think about this. That flashback scene with the wife and he gets angry at the board. Hey, you know what? Once again, of course you get angry at the board. They insulted your wife. But, and it's so sad to say, it was self-defeating. It was self-defeating. In that, Otto went to that meeting attempting to discuss and convince them that they needed more ramps for his wife and anyone else who might need such accessibility. Well, that's a righteous cause. Otto's right. That would be very helpful. But even when you're right, if you go to a meeting and you put your hands on someone who's running the meeting and you grab them, shake them, and push them over, no one's remembering your righteous cause. They're remembering, man, Otto, he got out of control. And so nothing happened. Nothing was improved for his wife. So his out of control anger didn't serve him well there. It makes us feel good. Yeah, sit up for your wife, push that jerk over. And I'm not saying if he didn't do that, he would have gotten his way. But you don't convince people at a meeting that you're going to get your way by manhandling them. So that worked against Otto. And once again, confronting that other driver behind his friend Marisol. That could have gone sideways pretty quick. Otto, once again, put his hands on that other driver. And Otto's 63 with a heart condition. The other guy was, roughly 38, maybe 35 years old. If that guy is as quick to physical altercation as Otto, that doesn't end well for Otto. I don't see him winning too many fights. His anger, once again, was righteous, but that could have ended really badly for Otto, and then who knows what happens after that guy knocks Otto out. So once again, the warrior energy is present, the desire to protect and defend, but it's not always contained very well in terms of the goal attempting to be accomplished. So that's Otto. So I want to bring up another form of archetype here called the ruler energy. Now the ruler energy or the king energy, Otto also we see a lot of. Remember this, the king energy, according to Moore and Gillette, includes what's called an ordering principle. The king likes to put the kingdom in order for the good of everyone involved, for the good of the community. We first meet Otto making what we call his morning rounds. He's cleaning up garbage, putting away the recycling, checking the fence and the gates to make sure they're secured properly. checking parking permits and things of this nature. Not awe-inspiring work, but still he's looking around the quote-unquote kingdom, making sure everything's running well. He is, however, not what we would call the king at his fullest, because he's very elitist at this point in the movie, meaning he looks down his nose at the other people in the community, calls them idiots and means it, doesn't really like anyone at this point, very reclusive, very isolated, not doing well. He still believes in the order of the community, but he sees it more like, if I don't do it, no one else will, because everyone else is a schmuck and they're not going to get it done. So it's really not in the good of the other he's worried about. It's almost self-aggrandizing. Now, that changes when his caregiver energy gets activated. And the activation of his caregiver and the higher levels of his archetypes actually is due to Marisol and his friendships with her. So Marisol plays a role that we would call the magician in the film. She has a lot of different archetypes at play in her, but I'm not sure everyone will recognize this one, in that she's catalytic. Carol Pearson described the magician as a catalytic force, someone who makes changes, makes things improve, and is a bit of a healer. And she plays that role to perfection in the life of Otto. And by patiently, but with great determination, she is able to push through Otto's anger and his sense of necessary isolation and awaken in him other archetypes that he has suppressed deeply, including the ability to care for others. Because, as he put it, he lived for his wife. And when she died, he wasn't sure what he was living for. And so his ability to care just shrank down. And Marisol opens him up again to the community. And we see how that plays out when the real estate agents from Diane, America, come, and they've swindled, remember, they swindled Ruben and Anita out of their house by working with their estranged son. And when Otto finds out about this, his warrior instincts kick in deeply. Pearson identifies as part of the warrior determination, discipline, and skill. Gillette and Moore point out that you're alert, you're aware of what's going on around you. So we take all those ideas, Otto hears about what's going on, he goes to Anita and goes, I want to see all of the paperwork you shared with them. I want to know about these medical records that they're using against you that they shouldn't even know about, so I can look into the laws about this and see what the hell is going on. Now that's a warrior accessing not only his desire to protect, but also the tactician. How do I prepare for battle? How do I make sure I'm in the best situation to achieve victory? And it also takes a great deal of skill and determination just to work through all that paperwork. It's not glorious work, but it's necessary for fighting against these real estate agents. So Otto does that work, and here's where we see kind of the ruler archetype coming out in him, combining with the caretaker energy that's now percolating in him. He rallies the quote-unquote troops. He musters his soldiers. He lays out for them the plan, of which he does nothing. Remember the scene, he does nothing. All his work was done behind the scenes. When the real estate agents show up to remove Anita and Ruben from their home, Otto's just sitting on the porch doing nothing. They say, Otto, you can't stop us. He goes, I'm not going to do a thing. He actually says that. And he doesn't have to. Everyone else knows their role. And they slowly break it down and break apart their argument, their reasons, reveal them to be illegal, videotape them with the cell phone, and they have the social media journalists there, and the real estate agents flee. And it's a big victory for Otto, who now is acting as the king. He stepped back. He understands the system. He trusts his people. He helped them get organized. And then they utilized their warrior energy. Only they weren't wielding swords and spears. They were wielding, on some levels, cell phones and information. And by the way, I love the fact that cell phones were used in a positive way in this movie. Obviously, there's a lot, and there's good reason to look at cell phones and go, oh my goodness, they're addictive, and they distract people, and they reduce your ability to pay attention. All true, but it's just a tool, and it can be used in a positive way too. And a man called, a man called Otto, captures that in that scene. And it's a good reminder that the cell phone's a tool. You should be in charge of your tools. Your tools should never be in charge of you. So they have their victory. They have their victory. Otto goes on to live for another 3 years, and then he passes away. He passes away. Mm-hmm. Now, when he dies, there's a fantastic voiceover, the letter he leaves for Marisol. So in that letter, there's a line about his funeral and the way Otto wants to be remembered. And in the letter, I'm just going to read it here. He says, he watched people there at his funeral who thought I pulled my weight. Who thought I pulled my weight. And I love that line. And here's something. Obviously, I talked about archetypes. I went through the ruler, the warrior, the magician, and the caregiver. I hit 4 archetypes already in this video. And that's part of the philosophy and psychology. It's in the movie, it's pop culture. Those are the 3 P's, but it's P3 and me. And part of the me for this movie is that last, one of those last lines, once again, who thought I pulled my weight. It's a wonderful thought, and it's something worth considering. Now, granted, we all look at Otto, of course he pulled his weight, so we would go and show respect to him for doing that. But that idea of pulling your own weight, it does add a certain level of self-respect and a sense of accomplishment to people's lives. And I do worry. And actually, the great Chinese philosopher Confucius once noted that you shouldn't worry too much about people noticing your efforts. Make sure you notice other people's efforts. And that's a great thought, because if we all spent our time trying to notice other people's efforts, eventually everyone gets the praise and the recognition that they need. But unfortunately, I don't think everyone's very good at that. They more like try to promote themselves and not worry about praising others. But let me just offer you this. It's easy for you, if you think about someone in your life who you think goes above and beyond a little bit for you, it's easy for you to look at that person and go, wow, that person's pulling their weight. They're doing things for me. I hope you're good at doing that for yourself too, and recognizing when you're pulling your weight and that you do pull your weight. And if you're not pulling your weight, it's probably causing some tension for you in your life. And I guarantee you, if you sat down and thought about ways you could pull your weight better, you would find more help coming your way. You would find a little more support coming your way. And you probably would start feeling a little more energized yourself. On the other side, please do recognize when you are pulling your own weight. I think about my own students. So many students. I have athletes. I have students who are in the theater. They're in the marching band. They go home and take care of younger siblings. Sometimes they go home and they help take care of older relatives. They work. They have outside club sports and cheerleading and gymnastics that they do. And they're still getting all their homework done and getting it to me on time. You are pulling your own weight. And I'm not saying go around bragging about it, but don't be afraid to let yourself feel kind of good about that too. It's necessary. It's okay. It's okay to feel good about yourself. Like the great philosopher Bruce Springsteen said, it ain't no sin to be glad you're alive. So it's all right to have that feeling that, I am pulling my own weight and I'm going to keep doing it. And that's what makes you worthy of praise sometimes. And that's sometimes all it takes is those little things of, once again, pulling your own weight. All right, so I want to end it right there. We hit on both a lot of P3. We hit on a little bit of what we call the me part of the class here at the end of the video. So take care. I hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you soon. Bye.